Dr. Dex here. Today we're just finishing up this lower deck as far as laying the deck and all the surface borders, finishing screwing and plugging and a little bit of end grain detail. Then we're gonna start moving on to the upper deck and kind of do the same thing and replicate what we did down here up there. So if you learned a little something today or you like what you saw, click that subscribe button, and if you want to be notified every time we're putting out fresh content, hit that bell icon. Also, if you want to learn how to bend deck boards, don't forget to check out Dr. Dex Masterclass. All right, so let's do a recap on what we've done down here, and then we'll get into that upstairs. All right, so basically what we've done is we've installed all of the deck boards on our lower deck over our waterproof bladder. There's been several bridges, blocking, surface borders, curves, cuts, sanding. A lot goes into, I call this a work of art. And right now I have a couple end grains to cut, so I've been putting carpet over those end grains to keep them cool, because when they're in the direct sunlight, they will expand a little bit. If they expand too much and I cut the board, then when it gets cool, they'll contract, and then we'll have a problem with the finish of the board. It'll be too short. So that's my next step. We're basically trying to get the top surface of this deck completed as far as we can before we move upstairs, and that's basically, we're almost there. I have a couple of places I need to glue some stuff in. So if you look right here, you can see that I made a little shim. Can you see that? And I glued that together to keep that point from falling apart. And I'll probably end up putting a screw in there as well, but I haven't done it yet. So basically I need to cut this straight off, and then this will become a place where our fascia will cover all that up, so it'll look nice when we're done. All right, so we have a few of those to put in still. I have to make them. We're using a glue called 2P10 and some activator, which solidifies the glue lickety split. So I can temporarily put it together, have the glue in there, hit it with some activator, and then 10 seconds later we're done. I can walk away from it. So if you don't use enough glue, it can get brittle, or you may have to end up putting some kind of a screw or fastener in it just to hold it together besides the glue. But you can kind of see we've got all of our surface borders in, almost all of our plugging's done. I just have a couple cuts to finish off, and then we can move on to the upstairs. So that was a lot of work. It took us like 2 days just to get all the surface borders installed on this deck, but they look really nice. And it's all about cutting to a certain point, and then you have to sand with a belt sander to get the boards to match the curve board that you made. So I'm feeling pretty solid about this. Next week we'll get our Regal Ideas railing crystal rail pods in. We'll start installing all those, and then our glass is being shipped, so that should be here hopefully next week as well. And it's gonna be nice weather again, so we're pretty jazzed. We should make some pretty good progress. So glad that you're following along. I appreciate your follow, and don't forget to share this information with all your friends and family. Let people know about our channel. We're just trying to grow it as big as we can. We're getting close to 4,000 subscribers, so when we get to 10,000, we're gonna do a huge giveaway. So we're just trying to climb that as fast as we can.
I am taking our Fascia Vortex screws, and when you get the full box, they usually come jumbled up like that. So I'm just facing them, so that way you're not poking your fingers. It's easy to pick up and makes the job more efficient, so we're not spending a lot of time messing around with screws.
So we are basically to the point where we're almost ready for fascia on this deck. But there's a couple spots on the deck where we have all these funky points, because when you build custom like this, you're gonna run into things, and you always want everything to flow as good as possible. But whenever I have a piece like this is what I was talking about earlier about using some glue and some spacers. I will cut a spacer to go inside of here, and then I will glue it together and use a little accelerator and hold it so that this won't move around. Doesn't really matter because, well, actually it will matter a little bit. I could take it like that, but that doesn't look so good. So I'm gonna take a spacer all the way to here, and then when I run my fascia around here, this will be nice and tight, and then I'll have something I can run screws into without having any issues. So I thought it might look nice if my fascia kind of tied in with this, and I cut a spacer about that thick to kind of fit in here. There will be a little bit of an air gap there, but I think when it's all said and done, it'll look really nice. So that's what I'm doing right now. I have a couple other spots on the deck that I have to make these solid, or else they might end up, like when it gets hot, if this piece isn't pinned, it may lift like that in the sun, and nobody wants that. It doesn't look good. So that's what I'm gonna do, take care of all that now, so that this deck is pretty much done down here, and then we can go upstairs and start focusing upstairs. So you gotta be careful how you do this, because if you start getting glue all over your deck, that's not a good thing. So on this one, I'm actually gonna just drop the glue down the groove, and then I'm gonna set this in place. And I always shave them a little thinner so they're kind of subset below the level of the deck, so you can still see the deck gap. And then this stuff right here, this is called activator, and you just need to put a little bit in here, and it sets the glue immediately with the PVC. You don't want to spray it all over the tops of the deck boards. You're just trying to get a little bit into the crack. World champions. All right, first things first, when you start putting in a deck and you start laying decking, you got to make sure that your where you're putting it any entry on a house, you got to make sure that your threshold's dialed in. Unfortunately, all the doors on this house are installed backwards, so all the thresholds go into the house instead of out. So it leaves me with not a lot to play with. So what I had to do, because we have waterproof bladders on this deck, I had to make sure that I had a solid watertight connection. So what we did is we triple taped this connection up to here, and then this piece goes in 2 inches into the threshold, and we drilled holes for these 4 adjustment screws, and then I caulked with clear on top of that, so no water. And then I'm going to actually build here's the old threshold that so nice, the old threshold that was nailed in. What I'm going to do is triple the length of this with a piece of matching AZEK over the top, and then when that's finished, it'll sit right over the top of the dark hickory. Probably make it in dark hickory to match the dark hickory board. And then I'll caulk that again, and then I think that will keep a nice connection so that things don't leak. All right, so before we start laying our deck boards, we're gonna put a product on part of the deck called Dexter Dry. It's a waterproof gutter spline to go over some plywood areas that we've waterproofed, but it's a little bit of insurance to make sure that the areas that we have flat plywood down on won't leak. So what I do is I have this special bit. I have a couple solid boards up there that don't have a groove in them, because the Dexter Dry, you need to have a groove. So I'm gonna route a groove in the side of the board like this. So there's the side of the board. There's my groove. Should work good. How are you? Yeah, you'll have plenty. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I didn't quite get as far as we wanted to on the upper deck today, but there's always Monday. So thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit the bell icon every time you want to be notified of us putting out fresh content. Also, don't forget to check out Dr. Deck's Masterclass if you want to learn about bending deck boards. And pick a screw, any screw.